Thank you very much. It's again Arno Clausen here, and we're still on the subject of congregation life. So we are just now over halfway, and this is session 6 of 10 sessions. That is all about the house and the congregation. Last time we talked about the house and the home and everything around it. We talked about the fact that we've got an individual that joins the Lord, that goes over into a marriage, and that links onto a greater dimension like the congregation, and that in itself is the 3 units or the 3 wombs where life is produced in our society. So the big question is now how the house flows over into the congregation. Remember, we've said it is important that it was the individual person that joined the Lord. That's very important. But nothing stays with the individual. It grows, it reproduces, it becomes bigger. And our intention to ask ourselves is, how do we create a movement? A movement is not created from the big picture back to the small thing. A movement is created from the small thing, the individual, linking onto another individual and another one, being energized in themselves, being self-propelled, being self-paid, self-everything, but growing into the bigger thing. Never ever in congregation life we're supposed to be me, mine, myself on my own there in a little corner, making little studies or whatever and so forth. No, because congregation life is people, 2 or more people, that is Christ-centered in relationship with each other, reaching out to other people and sharing their heart, their life and their faith with other people. So the question is now, how do we flow into the next phase, if we say it, from a house into congregation? And that is very important. Maybe to start with, we must define for ourselves what is congregation. We are very used to the talk about church, and we've said in the previous thing about the 2 systems that church is actually congregation life structured in a business structure. You know, we plant a congregation. We plant a church. We actually don't plant a congregation, because congregation is there the moment there's more than one person in the town. There is a congregation. But that doesn't matter. A congregation is stirred, is initiated, it grows. But when we plant churches, you know, we plant something, and we really want it to be a personal thing and to have relationship. But then it grows. I mean, as all of us want it to grow, people join it and whatever. We come to 80, 100 and more people. Then we don't know how to structure this thing any longer in just relationships. Then we go over into the phase where we package it into a business structure where we have departments, and this one is the head of this and that, and different meetings and departments and so forth and whatever, and we get staff and full-time and not full-time and whatever. So eventually we end up with a church in town, but so there is other churches in town. In the church philosophy, there is one town, and in the town there is different churches. And every church has got its own leader in itself. And the purpose of the church is to bring people to the church and to persuade you to bring your house to the church, and you become a member there at the church. When we think about congregation, we don't think so. Because number one, we don't plant a congregation. We only do discipleship. We only get in relationship with people, and we start disciple them into maturity, into their relationship with the Lord and everything around it. So what happens here is that in our thinking of congregation, actually there is only one congregation in a town. There is not many congregations in a town. Never in the Bible we read about 3 congregations in Ephesus, 5 there, or the one split and the one whatever, and the one go there because of doctrine, because of we couldn't agree, or because of whatever else. You see, it is very tragic, but the reason why we planted different churches is because the leaders can't handle the variety that we have in congregation. We can't handle all the variety, so we split off and we make the variety smaller. So here with us, we just do it so. There, the other variety can belong to other churches, but we just do this one thing. whatever this one thing may do. That is normally the thing that the senior pastor is his own ministry. Our problem is that we as leaders can't handle the variety that the Lord has put in the body. And so we cut off pieces, and if someone is with us that doesn't agree, we ask him basically to leave, because it doesn't fit in with our vision and what we do and how we do it. And that's where all the problems start, because we believe it is right to have more than one church. While it is not biblical. We're never supposed to become many churches in a town. We're supposed to be one congregation in a town. It's the church of Ephesus, the church of Thessalonica, the church of Philippi, and so we can go on. So there's only one congregation. Sorry, there's only one congregation in a town. And the word congregation is the only word that the Bible uses for it. And never are leaders allowed to cut off and to split and to subdivide and to franchise and whatever into different parts, so that we can just have peace with each other and we just can get sort of rid of each other and whatever. It's not necessary. Church is a structure that we've built by from top to bottom. While if we look at congregation life, if you don't agree with me, you don't need to agree with me. Because at the end of the day, my responsibility is to build my life, to build my house, and to let it flow into the congregation. And if it's received in the wider congregation, it's fine. If it's not received, it's not fine. I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to advertise myself. I don't need to bring myself to a place where I become the final say or the final leader or anything, because that is not got anything to do with me. That is the job of the head himself, Jesus Christ. If he wants to promote me and if he believes there's something in me, the people will hear it and the people will take it. Never do we structure in such a way that we bring people to us. We invite them to us. They come and join us. They come and enjoy me and my ministry. No, it's not necessary. The moment we lead them to Christ, they've joined the body of Christ. They're part of the body of Christ. They're part of the congregation of Christ. We focus upon the first thing, and that is, let's focus upon you, not because we're selfish, but because we believe in self-love. Let's sort you out. Let's get to your home, to your house, and let's allow this part of the congregation that is in your house flow into the rest of the congregation that is in town. So the power of congregation life lies in the unity that we have. But you see, through church life, we try to create unity. We never need to create unity. We already have unity in Christ. The only thing is there's people that don't agree with it. So we're so fighting the people that disagree and the person that's this and this, that we miss the whole thing, that in Christ we are one. And if there are people that is not persuaded or convinced about the unity, don't fight them. Let them bring their accent, whatever they believe their accent is and what they believe. Just leave them. Leave them to the fact and the reality that the head of the body is more than enough to deal with all of this. It is not my responsibility to deal with all of these things and to try to sort people out and to get this one out and that one in and however we want to manage things. We must stop controlling the body of Christ. We are never allowed to control people. We are never allowed to decide over people's lives, who's in and who's out. If the Lord has allowed someone into his family, it is not for me as a human being to decide, well, he can be in with the Lord, but he's not in with me. Well, it can be this, but I will not this or whatever. For me, it's only congregation. For me, it's only to bring myself and what I have and my house. If people agree, they agree. If they disagree, don't agree with what I bring to the table, they don't need to disagree, to agree. They don't need to take what I bring to the table. They're not forced to take it. Because I am not someone that can do anything to them, for them, about them or whatever, because it's not about me. My own intention, whatever I have in terms of whatever ministry is me and my house or whatever, is to bring something to the table that enhances Jesus Christ himself, that bring him to the table, that makes him the focus and takes the focus off me. Because I am just human. I've got problems. I've got also imperfections and whatever. And the body is not built upon me. It's not built according to me. It's built nothing to me. It's built according to Christ. Our fivefold ministry intention is to facilitate the focus, the intentions upon Christ, that everyone can get his commands from Christ personally. Because if you do something because I'm the pastor and I said so, then we're part of church. But if you do something because God has convinced you, you've read it in the Bible, you've seen it maybe in my home, you've seen it in someone else's lives or whatever, but you do it because God has persuaded you to do it. He has brought you to the place where He has told you that this is your responsibility. It is not because of me creating a program and I need your energy, I need your work, and I need your volunteering, and I need your money, and I need what. I don't need you in that sense. I need your relationship. I don't need you that you need to come and work for me, build for me. If there is a natural flow of flowing together, it's fine. Then of course we can do some stuff together. But we don't force anything into any mode except when people start to flow constantly and spontaneously into each other's lives and homes and start to do things that is in their heart, that they will organize, they will do, they will formulate, they will execute, and they will pay. And they will bring to a full success. Not because they've brought it to me and me as the senior pastor will pay you and we will handle it from the administration office or whatever. No, we don't do that. Because that's no longer the organic way of individual house, home, and congregation as we know it in the Bible. So it's not that we don't have unity. It is that we just so overwhelmed by the variety in congregation that we don't see the unity. You see, unity exists in despite of variety. Variety is not an enemy of unity. We are one in spirit in Christ. Our disunity exists the moment that I feel it's my responsibility to make sure that all the other people know where you are wrong, then we've got disunity. Yes, of course, if you are dishonoring Christ and you say Christ is not the way, well, that is a primary difference, and then we need to deal with that. But otherwise than that, I don't know about anything that we need to handle, because we are different. We're going to do things different. We're going to fail different. And let's just say that the congregation is a place of grace. It is with a gospel of grace, with hearts of grace. We allow each other to exercise what is in your heart. People will fail. But instead of focusing upon each one's failure, let's focus and help each other up and enhance the gift that is in each other's lives. It's much easier to build together. To do things together, to flow together. So we have a situation where we understand, as we said, that the power of congregation life lies in the empowerment of the believer. Theologically, they name it the priesthood of the believer. So the believer, the marriage, the congregation. We want to empower believers to grow into marriages, to grow into houses, to grow into congregations, to grow into a manifestation. We want every believer to grow into it. We're not here to have, 3 or 4 fivefold leaders, but the rest is just ordinary low-level people. We used to say the leaders, the apostolic and the prophetic, it's high level, but the other is low level. I mean, that's the implication. They're not of so much value. It is the other way around. The believers are God's high-level plan. The believers are the key to movement. It's the key to the kingdom. It's the key to reaching the world. We only have leaders to serve the believers. We only have a fivefold ministry to empower the believers to do the work, according to Ephesians 4. And if you believe in high level, then it's definitely not the apostolic and the prophetic. It's the believer that's the high level person. Everything starts with him. He's the secret, he's the key. We build from the believer to the house, to the congregation, eventually at the end of the day. We don't inspire you as a believer to become and be a volunteer in our church. You can sit here, you can listen to the sermons, give your money, we volunteer, do some job here. Our purpose in congregation life is not to make you a volunteer, it's to make you a minister of the word. Every believer has got a responsibility to minister with the word. We've received the ministry of reconciliation. We must go out and we must minister the gospel of reconciliation to people. We must keep the believers busy with tasks and organizational programs and organization and whatever. Not that organization and programs is evil in itself. It is not evil in itself. But we're keeping the key to movement busy with tasks that's not supposed to be their task. If there's any organization involved, it will be something that they will do themselves with the project they are involved, and they will design it, and they will pay it, and they will everything around it. It is not my task to give you some ministry. It is not my task to release you and to find out, listen, come and sit here, and then I will decide when you are released. You are commanded to go. You are commanded to go from day one when you've received the Lord. You are commanded as a believer to go. Sorry, let me just. You are commanded to go into the world. You're commanded to go and spread the gospel. Yes, maybe one-to-one. You are a believer. You haven't been developed in other areas yet. But the only way to get developed is to go and do the one-to-one thing. And the one-to-one thing with other people will lead to groups. It will lead to a better house. It will lead to downloading from other people, cross-pollination and whatever. Reach out to other people. Get to know other people, other believers. Find out how does other houses work. Expose yourself to other house leaders. Get your own house in order. You can even add your house or let it flow with another house. We can start to do projects together. But the responsibility starts with the believer to become a minister of the word and not a volunteer. We have only volunteered to come into the kingdom, and from there on we are no longer volunteers. We are now voluntarily under compulsion to go, because we've said that we want to join. And we want to join the kingdom. And in the kingdom, the program is one thing. Go and make disciples of all the nations. And this is what it is all about. So you have the option before you join the kingdom to be a volunteer. But the moment you're in the kingdom, you are the minister of the word. And the Lord don't see you as anything else, as a capable minister of the word that can influence people's lives, that can help them. And it is not from the Lord to be overruled by leaders that tell you are not capable. You must just sit here till we think you are capable enough and to go where you can go. You must go from day one, because that is how it grows. In the house, we built the infrastructure that will help you mature in everything. Because everything you need is other relationships with other people, with other mentors, with other fathers, with other friends. Whatever you need is a relational capacity that you need to develop in. It is in you, but you need development in it. You need to become skillful in it. And the way to become skillful is, number one, to start to function in it. Number two, to go to other people and get to download and cross-pollination and input from their lives, and start to lay the stuff before them so that they can disciple you voluntarily from your side. You put yourself on the table, because you've got no franchise over anything in your life. What the Lord has given you, no one can steal. See, therefore you can with great confidence put it before other people, that they can speak into it and they can help you to grow into fullness of that. We have said that congregation is nothing else than relationships. We make use of certain infrastructures, but certain infrastructures never became the congregation. As we've said, the family is the family because of the people that have relationship with. The house doesn't become the family. The house helps a lot in terms of family and functioning as a family, for sure. But the physical house never becomes the family. The family is the people. We can make use of a house, but the focus is never on the house. It's an absolute secondary thing that we make use of, that's important physically, but the relationship is the real thing. And in building this congregation, we talk about, as we said, the individual that flown over into house and home and now flowing into congregation. We're flowing into a bigger network of relationships. And just to show you how vast and big this relationships network is, we can just maybe mention some of it. There's number one, the relationship that we have, all of us, with God as our Father. Then there's all the marriage relationships in Him. Then there's all the parent-child relationships in this. There's the relationships between the children themselves in the house. Then there's the relationships of all the people in the house with all of their friends. That's a lot of people. Then there's the relationships with all these people in the house with everyone's mentors that they have, because we do not necessarily have all the same mentors. And then there's the relationships that we in the house have with all the people that we are busy mentoring in the house and outside the house. Then there is the relationships that we can have with other house leaders that can come to us, and we can go to them and they can give input and we can get exposure into their lives. Then there's all the relationships that we have at work. That's a lot of relationships. Then there's other relationships that we have because of our sport, because of where we go, where we do shopping, have holidays, where we go for trainings and visit things and whatever. There's a lot of relationships everywhere. It's just there. It's possible. You can tap into it. You can ignite it. You can walk into it. You can whatever. There's lots of people everywhere. The problem is that we as believers are not used in walking into other people's lives. We are learned that, I can sit at home, just attend a service meeting, and we can go home, be everything on our own and self, me, mine, myself. Congregation life is people that moves into other people's lives. It is a dynamic of life that's flowing. Wherever you are, spiritually, business-wise, and whatever, it's a dynamic of flowing into other people's lives, connecting with other people, engaging with other people. But it is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. It's not naturally there. I need to get myself into that lifestyle of the pastoral, where I can say, listen, are you connecting with people? Do you have people that are speaking into your life? Are you reaching out to people, even though it's just visiting people? Get connected with other people. Show some interest in their lives. Start to ask them something that's maybe they're good in to help you with, and whatever. So there's other relationships that we even find, in congregations. One home to, in terms of another home, there's lots of relationships. There's relationships in your area that you're staying. And what is that in English? Your woonbuurt, your suburb where you're staying. There's lots of relationships there. And maybe when you've started up a house and you help other person to stabilize his house and another house, you naturally become known as an elder, because there's lots of houses that are looking up to you. Not because anyone has declared you an elder. You are an elder because you have an influence amongst lots of houses. That is actually what the elder is all about. We can define him. We can sort of officially appoint a person. But you only appoint him because he has got big influence amongst a lot of houses. Because that is what an elder, it's a house leader that has stabilized a lot of other house leaders and their houses, not done it himself, facilitated them. And because of his influence and his way of helping people to live in this lifestyle of discipleship, people see him as an elder because he's got influence in terms of the vast, let's say, relational network that this person has. That's the only reason why a person is an elder, and the quality of life that is living in all of these relationships. Then we have in these houses and congregations, we have fivefold ministries. That's still part of this relational network that we're talking about. There's lots of fivefold ministries. There's not necessarily a fivefold ministry in all of the houses. There's potentially, yes, but there's lots of ministries that's coming up, and we need to encourage to stand up and to grow over time to its fullness. And we need to invite them, and we need to invite them into our houses. We need to join them at stages to tap from them and to see and to get some download from them and how they do it and what they do and whatever. So if we don't call this a network of relationships, I don't know what is a network of relationships. This is an enormous lot of relationships. If we can just utilize this already existing relationships, we can build and reach thousands of people. But with church, we come into a town, we reach another person, and then we go separately on our own, and now we establish a new church. And whoever we reach, we invite over here. We invite over here. Because we ignore the existing network of relationships that those people already have in their lives. And the inviting over here becomes a point where the over here relationships in the church becomes the most important stuff. And what do these people normally do? They don't give anymore so much attention to the other relationships, and they spend more time, energy, and money here, and not with the normal existing relational network. You see, planting churches is planting something that becomes an enemy of the natural existing network of relationships that they are normally in the town already, even with unbelievers, because unbelievers also do have relationships. You see, the main emphasis is not to build something else, it's not to invite people over, but to go into their relational structure and help them to testify down the lines of their relational structure, so that their relational structure becomes their house and their congregation. And we help them to go into that structure, and I can't do it for you, you must do it yourself. You see, I remember one group of people, they're very good in helping people to get off drugs. And one of their main things is that when we as a church, we find a person on drugs, we take him into our bosom, we separate him from the world, we guard him from all influence and other drug dealers so that he can get sort of strong in himself and whatever. These people don't do it. When they lead someone to the Lord, their first commission is to go back to their drug dealers that gave them the drugs, to testify to those people and to ask them to help them not to get drugs any longer. The people that provide the drugs are asked for help to make sure that they don't get drugs any longer. And guess what? They normally sort of laugh about it and say, but okay, if you ask me that, I'll do it, I'll help you. And then they make sure that you don't get drugs any longer. But they keep on relationship with those people, they testify to them, and they are the first line of object of people to bring back, or also to evangelize and bring into the kingdom. You see, never close down your network of relationships because you have given your life to the Lord. These people were your friends. Yes, they're going to laugh at you, they're going to mock you, whatever, but you go down the line back to your existing network of relationships because you owe it to them. They also deserve to hear the gospel. You don't ask the pastor to go there because he doesn't know how to minister to those people because you haven't been in that world. It's your world, it's where you came from. We need to recognize the existing network of relationships that we have naturally in towns, in the communities. Therefore we say, we don't want to ignore the community. We want to have relationship with the unbelievers in the community and make the community a congregation by not inviting them out of their community, but just changing their community into a Christian community being called the congregation. And we're not inviting them to anything else except just changing the existing structure of relationships, the existing people, just helping them to identify their own houses, their own lives, their own responsibilities, their own relationships, taking up responsibility for what's already there. Not giving them the more work to attend this, classes, whatever. No, stick with them. Be with them, help them personally. Let the life school be their real school. Train them in the school of life, much more than just preaching to them or teaching to them, and take them away into classes where you can we can do other stuff with them. So there must be a flow from life from the one to the others. And we've already said how this can be done. Our attitude is not to go and exploit these people in the community to come and serve us, to come and be members, to come and help us. No, we go there. We go there to help them. We serve them. We stand with them. We cannot do their ministry for them because that's not part of discipleship. As a disciple, I only facilitate you, meaning I don't do anything for you except to facilitate you, asking you questions so that you can understand how you can live your discipleship lifestyle. I cannot live it for you. I cannot reach out to your people. You must reach out to your own people. It is your responsibility. They're part of your house and your home, and you must go and reach them for the Lord. Now, sometimes people say, but what can we do, say, with all our Sunday services? We've got, our church life is anchored in Sunday services. People, there's nothing wrong in essence with a Sunday service. But a Sunday service, the thing, has become the church. And we say we've got lots of relationships there. We don't have relationships because of the Sunday service. We have it because we've seen each other somewhere, sometime, in our houses and whatever. And the only thing I want to say is not to say, listen, let's close down all Sunday services. As I said, we can close down whatever we think is wrong. It doesn't necessarily replace the real thing. It doesn't necessarily bring the real thing. So I'm not the one that say, listen, if we close down everything that's a service and a program, we will have real, decent. No, we need to have life. We need to have relationships. We need to have individual believers moving. We need to have homes moving, houses moving. We need to have a flow into congregation life. And yes, in the process, if we want to have a service, it's fine. The service is not the issue. The question is, does this service serve the flow of life, or is it just keeping people busy? And I would maybe recommend not to, let's say, stop services, but to say, let's get our thinking again into the relational concept. Maybe we must use Sundays much more to send the people out so that they can go and visit other homes, stabilize homes, reach out to other people. Maybe they can use a Sunday more in maybe one Sunday for their physical family, doing some stuff together, talking to each other. Maybe they can use another one, reaching out to another house. Maybe they can go and do missions on a Sunday. Why not? 1, 2, 3 houses, go together, go to another town or an area, wherever you've got contacts, just go there. Start to do life a missional, relational way. Not thinking in the first place, okay, are we going to go there, then we're going to have a service for them? No, just infiltrate the community and get into people's houses, get into their lives, start to talk with them, start to communicate with them. Maybe we can visit the extended family on Sundays. Our own family and extended family. Maybe we can have a celebration. Maybe we can have a camp. Whatever we do, make sure that it serves the flow. It serves the flow and the life, and it stirs more life, and it gives more opportunities for people to stand up and to flow. And if we can do that, we can have, let's say, as many as possible events or programs or whatever that will fit into it, as long as we stick to the main thing. And the main thing is that people need to stand up, live in the presence of God, look after their homes, their houses, sort out their relational structure, reach out to the existing structure, and not create for them more relational structures that is separate from the world, as we sometimes see that our church structures are so separately divorced from real world scenarios that people don't know how to move from there back into the world. Let's build congregation life, congregation relationships right where people are, in the existing relationships. And let's just not create another church that is another community, but let's take the existing community and just change the character of it and the focus of it away from God to God, in relationship with God, with the values of God. And we just change the existing relationships into something that is Christian and that is congregation life. Thank you very much.